Clutch is done. How much did it cost? Well, I told you it'd be a doozy. So as you know, my clutch went out. Just quit working. I knew it was going to. I mean, the truck's had 585,000 on it, and it was a fleet truck. So it went out. It wouldn't go into gear anymore. It still would mesh, like I said, but it wouldn't. I took it down to the shop and got a few things fixed and a couple of the while you're in there stuff. And so let's go over that, because I had a couple different things wrong. So we're going to go over the first thing that, well, I'll tell you how all this happened. Well, it's going to get a little weird with some of the angles in here, so you'll have to forgive me on that. My regular mount broke. I've got to get a new extender piece on it, so I really like this, and it could sit about anywhere. And it was the right height. So I'll tell you, I've told you the story. Like I said, I went in and had my clutch inspected, being a solo clutch. Pulled the inspection cover off and looked up and realized it was down there. It was at its very last adjustment. And the clutch brake was a little weak and all that, but I talked to the mechanic about it, and he said, well, found a couple different things. He said, but if this was one of our trucks, we'd be sending it in now. Okay, well, that makes sense. I said, you know, and he said, you know, you still got a little bit of life left on it. I had a lot less life than we both thought. And so, I mean, I started making plans. Well, truck had other ideas, and it didn't work with my time schedule. Well, it didn't, but, well, here we are. So one of the things he found was I had a leaking rear pinion. Now, it was the pinion was seeping. It was wet. Now, when it's wet, it's not dripping, but it's got a wetness there. Now, you have to understand this, that even though it's considered a class 1, it's DOT legal. The fact that it was leaking puts you in a little bit of a gray area, and fighting with the DOT guy at a scale when he's going to write you up for a leaking rear diff is not the place to do it. Now, it's DOT legal, but like I've said before, it all comes down to the discretion of the arresting officer. So I went ahead and had that fixed, so we had to buy a new input nut because they're self-threading. Charged me for the cleaner. That nut was $15.04 with my discount. Now here's the thing. Going through the company, I get a little bit of discount and I get a break on labor, and it was still pretty expensive. Put some more fluid in it. Put a U-joint in it. In fact, they did the U-joints. A new rear seal. That seal was $134. So altogether, parts, labor, miscellaneous, just to do the rear seal at the dealer was $823.94. That's a good chunk of change, but it's one of those deals to where if you're gonna have the shop and you're gonna be down, you might as well get it done because you know it needs to be done. There's a lot of things when you tear into these trucks, you really need to consider the why you're in there stuff, because you don't want to pay labor twice. I've gone rounds and rounds with people. I had a friend of mine dropped a cylinder. He didn't have a warranty, so they were going to pull the head off. And I said, dude, have them all done. If one drops, you're going to get another one. No. All they need to do is do one piston pack. It'll be fine. Went ahead, put it all back together, dropped 2 more. I mean, if you've gone that far yes, it is expensive. Don't get me wrong. I will never dispute that. But what's more expensive? Doing the job twice or paying the money up front to do it right the first time? And he did it once and then had to pay the money right to do it first time. So he pretty much had to pay labor twice to do the same thing. So, yeah, so sometimes you just have to suck it up. It sucks, but so we had to replace the clutch. So I went and had the, like I said, a solo clutch put in, and I did that because of several reasons. Because a self-adjusting clutch on these trucks makes for a happier mechanic. And I did the math, like I explained in my one of my last videos, that the cost benefit said it was actually cheaper in the long run to have a self-adjusting clutch. And the way I drive, this will be the last clutch I put in unless there's catastrophic failure of the clutch. Now that clutch itself, the list price, I got it for about $600 cheaper because of my discount. I gave $1,132.75 for that clutch. So we had to put fluid in. I had to do a hose end here, which apparently was 2 of them. They redid a hose. Gasket lever shift housing, $11. Had to get some lock nuts, some bolts, washers, new U-joints, which I like. I didn't ask for it, but they did it. And new U-joints, if you're going to be tearing it all apart, a new U-joint is just added protection. It's a while you're in there thing. And cable ties, blah 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 blah. Oh, hydraulic hose, and key hex flange crimped nut. That was an expensive nut at $38.50. I think that was the one they actually had to order. So the clutch itself, just the clutch, was $4,545.66. Now, let me read you the notes. Customer states clutch has gone out. Very hard to engage clutch. That's true. So then it says complaint and then correction. What it says here. So let me read you the correction here. Now, when they say correction, it's just corrective measures. He says, removed inspection color, checked release bearing distance, found at half, found solo clutch a little past halfway, hydraulic master cylinder, fluid at correct level, clean clutch brake, tested again, found it operates correctly. Test drove around the lot using clutch, found no issues. Installed cover, advised customer. Customer requests replacement clutch, removing driveline, drain the air tanks, remove air lines, remove yoke, pulled shifter, remove heat exchanger and lines going to transmission, remove bell housing bolts, pulled transmission installed, new clutch serial number. It's got a serial number on the clutch, and all about re-inspecting. And then the whole process is in here. Now, this is where I have a mechanic. They said the clutch was halfway. At 600,000 miles, the clutch is beyond halfway. If it's at the last bit of adjustment, it doesn't matter how thick the clutch is. You can't adjust it anymore. Once you can't adjust it anymore, it's going to just eat itself. And it will stop engaging because it can't adjust anymore. So what's going to end up happening is you're just going to eventually, it's going to get lighter and lighter and more slippage, and it's just going to separate because you're burning the contact surface off. It's just, once you are at the end of the adjustment, it doesn't matter how much you have because the adjustment can't keep pressure, keep pushing it in. It's just and eventually it's gonna burn it off to where it just doesn't engage anymore. We were at the very last adjustment, like I said, so I really wasn't worried about how thick he said the clutch was. I knew that with the adjustment we were done, and my mechanic agreed. And this is why I always say, have a mechanic that you trust. The mechanic I trust has no skin in the game. He tells me straight up. And he's a guy that's been doing it a long time, and I trust him implicitly. He's never done me wrong, and if I give his advice, he hates giving me his thoughts on things because he doesn't want to be liable for anything. And that's why I force him to give me his thoughts on things, because I know he's straight up. And when he says I needed a clutch, it was getting ready to go. It's getting ready to go. So, I mean, even if they say the clutch is only halfway and half, you're thinking, oh, I've still got 50% of the clutch. You may have 50% of the material, but if you're at the last adjustment, we're done. And like I said, at 500,000 miles on the original clutch, I'm surprised it lasted this long. So, let's move on to the next thing. So as we did the clutch, the rear axle, engine system, replace rear main while transmission is removed. You don't have to, but I would highly recommend it because your flywheel's on there, and it's gonna, even though it's torqued to spec and done all that, you are moving it around and it's doing a little unnatural shifting, and you don't know, it might pop out, it might be fine, there may be nothing. But while it's out, you might as well have it done. Now, the rear crankshaft seal was $102.89. The labor was $480. But, and it was, how long did it take them? Good grief. Well, anyhow, so it cost me a total of $652.05 to do the rear seal. Yeah, while you're in there, you might as well. So, and then I had to, I had to get get the flywheel resurfaced. That, it was, that cost $267.68. They do it there on site. There's shop time involved, labor. And here's the thing. If you're going to get a new clutch, always have your flywheel resurfaced. Don't care. I will always have it. Just because nobody's going to warranty a clutch without doing it anyways. Just one of those things. Yeah, $267.68. Now, what I noticed that when I got the truck back, it had a little more pull, it had a little more oomph to it, and I realized that it had been slipping a little more than I thought. So it was a little more grabby, a little more aggressive. It was a little more, we've been breaking it in, and I'm not slipping. I realized I was slipping a whole lot more than we thought. So yeah, it's amazing how the thing will, it'll work, and right up to the moment it doesn't. So I went ahead and put in a brand new clutch kit, and that was $436.76 for the kit with the labor and all that, miscellaneous whatnot. It was $972.12. These numbers seem high, but that's what it is. So that's what I had done. So what was the total? The total number is actually fairly high. The total number is $8,062.99. Now you're like, well, that's $1,000 more than your estimate. You're absolutely right. That's why we call it an estimate. And could I have gotten this done cheaper elsewhere? Absolutely. Why did I do it at the dealer? Well, the dealers stand behind their word. Not only that, I can get Kenworth OEM parts, but also, because of the company I have my truck leased to, I get a cut rate on labor. I get a cut rate on parts. I get, there's a lot of discounts and whatnot that I do get. On top of this, they will let me use their charge account, and I just write them a check when I get up to the office. So I don't have to write them a check or get a credit card or a money order or whatever. I just give an authorization code, I pick it up, and I'm out of there in 12 minutes. I mean, it's, and with their no, what did I just say? with their account, they have it's nationwide, so it doesn't matter where I'm at. If something breaks, they got a charge account, and I can put it wherever. So that always helps. I mean, right here to make money, but at the same time, if you're leased on to people and you can access their charge account and get their discounts, always do it. I mean, I get discounts on tires, I get discounts on all sorts of things because of who I'm leased to. And even the guys with their own authority, if they're leased on here pulling our trailers, they can get the same discount. So it's worth it to me to go that route. I could have just paid it out right there and been fine, but they would have had to wait for the check to clear, at least the bank to open a call to make sure the funds were there and all that. And truthfully, with the list prices versus the extended price, which is what I paid, not the retail price, this probably would have been another $1,000 to $1,500 higher. So sometimes having guys backing you is not a bad thing. I say this a lot, and I'm going to say it again. Always spend the money. These trucks are expensive, and spending the money in the right spots is paramount. You know, when you buy a truck, you're making here's the thing. Buying a truck is an insane deal. You're going to buy a truck, you're going to dump $100,000 into it over the next 4 years and sell it for 50% of what you bought it for. It's ludicrous. Buying a truck is an investment in your future, but buying a truck is not an investment. You're depreciating it with every mile. You're running value out of it with every mile. And these things just time out. I mean, like with the old pink truck when I put the engine in it. If it had been any other time in history, that was an incredibly ludicrous, insane thing to do. If it hadn't been the height of COVID, I wouldn't have done that. But there was no trucks. There was no parts. But I could find an entire crate engines, which was insane. And for the price of the crate engine, you know, I put that truck, I gave $67,000 for that truck. I put probably $120,000 into it, to 120 to 150 to include the engine, and I sold it for 35. Trucks are a losing proposition every time. Never buy a truck thinking that you're going to make money when you sell it. COVID was an exception. Now, there are certain trucks that do hold their values, a lot of Peterbilts, particular Peterbilts, but even those right there are starting to slip now. So trucks are an investment in your future. They're not an investment. Don't ever buy a truck thinking it's going to be an investment, because it's not. You have to put money into it, and you have to put maintenance into it. And part of why I got my money out of the last truck rather than trading it off was because I sold it to a friend of mine who was looking for a truck, and he knew how much money and maintenance I'd put into it. And he's still running it now. It's performing flawlessly, and he's happy about it. So yeah, I mean, you have to put money into these things, and you have to stay on top of the maintenance, because if you don't stay on top of the maintenance, it's going to eat you up. I see so many guys out there trying to shortcut their maintenance, trying to stretch things out, trying to get just a couple more miles out. And so what ends up happening? Well, like for instance with my friend who didn't get the all his piston packs done, lost another week of work. That week of work would have paid for the engine repairs the last time. About 2 weeks. But you see what I'm saying. Truthfully, when before the clutch went out, I was going to my brother's wedding, and I thought maybe I ought to just put the truck in now. I mean, I'm going to be off this week doing this wedding thing. Maybe I ought to just do that. No, I'll just put it off, and he said I got some time. I'll just go till spring. I put maybe 110 miles on it once I got it, and it had about 150 miles, and it went out in McPherson. So, I mean, it had different ideas. But once they started breaking into it, if there's something that needed to be fixed or a wear item or something like that, I just went ahead and had it fixed just because I don't want to pay labor twice. And on top of that, I don't want the truck down twice. I know what these trucks are supposed to make, and if you own your truck, you know what that truck needs to make per day, per mile, to make it worth your while. And when you're sitting, you're not working. I mean, there's no money coming in. So you need to minimize your downtime. But this is why you save your money. I thought I was going to minimize my downtime. I was home an extra week. You know what? That's why I saved my money. Paid for it. We got it fixed. But like I said, I got it fixed and did all the inside stuff. So, yeah. One of the things that helps is you have to learn your truck. You just have to know it. Because you spend most of your time in it. And people are going to sit there and be like, no, it's this. No, it's that. Excuse me, this is my truck. I spend 85 to 90% of my time in here. I mean, yeah. I'm sitting here in Crawfordsville, Indiana tonight. I mean, this is my view. You just have to be willing to put in the time with it and basically have a relationship with your truck. Sounds goofy to say it that way, but you and this mistress spend all of your time together. Guys, you're going to spend more time with this truck than you do your significant other. And there's been more than one woman jealous because the truck is a mistress that takes her man away. It's a fact. It's a fact of life. These trucks are going to break. There's no getting around it. These trucks are going to break. And sometimes you just have to buckle up. I know everybody's like, well, I'll get the warranty, I'll get this, I'll get that. I've got a friend of mine right now dealing with that right now. He bought a truck from Kenworth, and he's got every warranty offered, he bought. And now I think he bought a lemon, honestly. I hope he didn't. They're telling him it's all right. It is not all right. It's not all right at all. And he's got blow-by, he's got rattling, he's got all sorts of weird things happening. And me and him, and I talked to another buddy of mine, and we're all convinced he's got a blown head. But he's got the warranty, so he has to play the game. And it's the long game, and it's a tiring game. But I hope it all works out. Sincerely, I hope it works out for him. But it's one of those deals to where he's got to play the game, he's got to put in his time, and he's just got to work through this. So hopefully everything works out well for him. But like I said, a truck is you have to have the right mindset. You have to be willing to deal with these things. So many people put too much stock in a warranty or too much stock in a new truck, or they just put too much stock in everything except the actual truck, and they're just setting themselves up for failure, really. So when that happens, I mean, they have this meltdown and an existential crisis to go along with it. Guys, I've had much worse things that happen. I've had, like I said, I had engines go out. I've had clutches go out. This is probably the 5th time this has happened over the last, 25 years. But EGRs go out. I've had turbos blow out. I've had I had my DEF system fall off the truck once, twice. I had exhaust pipes fall off. If it's on the truck, I've had it fall off. You know, and a lot of these companies I work for just wouldn't do the maintenance. They just patch things together. And I made up my mind a long time ago that if I owned a truck, I wasn't going to do that. You know, I'd rather have a plain Jane truck that runs great and the maintenance is up and everything's perfect than a shiny truck that doesn't go anywhere. Oh yeah, I could spend another $10,000 dolling this thing up. There's a lot of stuff for a 680. And one of these days we might put some lights on it or something. I'm not sure yet. But at the end of the day, the truck's got to make you money. More downtime means less money. And before we go, somebody's going to ask, why didn't I reseal the rear structure? There was no reason to reseal the rear structure. It wasn't leaking. It's up there. It's good to go. I'm not going to spend another $1,000 to $1,500. Actually, it probably would have been another $2,000 to $3,000 pulling it all off, cleaning it up, regasketing it to put it on when it didn't need to go anyways. So, truthfully, I haven't had a rear structure leak well, the only rear structure leak I ever had was just a class 1. So, it was fine. We never bothered it. About a couple times a year, we just washed it off, and it was fine for another 6 months. Anyhow, guys, that's the cost of the transmission, and that's what we did. Like I said, it was expensive, but it's going to pay me back in work. So it's a high cost of being the boss, I guess, as B.B. King would say. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Keep your chin up, guys, and we'll catch you next video.